Hello everyone, welcome to EzzyBills webinar. My name is Lee Fitzmaurice. I probably have met many of you in the previous conferences. Today I'm going to present bill and expense approval workflow via EzzyBills. I am going to present first. Please hold on your question to the end. We'll cover overview of EzzyBill approval and new features, and after that we'll go through a live account to say several of the typical approval cases, and then we have a closer look at email approval, and I'll give you some tips and tricks. EzzyBill is document processing software, and we process millions of invoices and receipts months. EzzyBill has a high level of automation, and this is makes it a very easy and very efficient to use EzzyBill. And with the default settings, we will process the invoices and export them direct to your accounting software with 0 clicks. So you don't have to click any buttons. For example, if you are Xero user, we'll export the invoice under the draft bill folder in just a few seconds. However, if your business requires expense approval for cost control, and you can enable approval workflow in EzzyBills. And then you can take advantage of our powerful paperless approval. And this feature has no additional cost to you. Our email approval has loads of features. It's very powerful and super convenient. There's no need for login for your managers to do so. There's just a few buttons you can click, and you also can modify or add additional attachment and do a few other things just on the email. For our approval, recently we added approval rules. The reason we added is because it's requested by our customers that aim to maximize automation. So with approval rule, you can preset condition for what person to approve. And we also have a list approval table, and that's in EzzyBill settings. The common use cases are spend money transactions, an employee expense claim, and also one popular usage of this is set one approver per business unit. And another new feature we added recently is the interaction between our standard approval flow and the list approval. So we make it more flexible now. You can turn off the interaction if you want to. Okay, so now I'm going to a live account and just show you some of the things we just talked about. And first, we go into a simple approval workflow. So this is an EzzyBill account. It is connected to Xero. And for each EzzyBill account, you have dedicated email address. In this case, it's jb@ezzybill.com. By default, this account doesn't have approval. So if you upload a bill, in this case, it's a burning bill, it will go direct. We'll process straight away, and we will export in direct to Xero with no click from you at all. And as you may also know, and in this process, we will extract all the invoice data with line details, and we will export to your accounting software, and we'll automate the account code and other things based on your invoice history. Now it's done. So you can, this dark green color means it's the whole thing is finished. So we successfully export this to your Xero, and here we provide a link. If you click that, and it will direct go to the bill that we export to Xero. In the export, we have, this is the one attachment, and that's the invoice file. We have all the data we already populated. So that's it. And that's the standard one. And that's the default behavior. But if you want your manager to approve an invoice and before we export, and you can do it. So that's a simple process in the setting. And you just enable approval workflow. And you can choose a single level or 2 level. For this demo, we just choose a single level to start with. So after I done that, so I say save setting. And now I'm going to upload another bill. And this is a full scan bill I'm uploading. And this time, instead of going direct to Xero, it's going to be wait for my approval. And let's look at the setting again. So the setting I just say enable approval workflow today. I'm going to also go into another thing we call workflow. So in this, for each invoice process, you're going to see a workflow. I'll zoom in a little bit. And so you can see the workflow. The first step is pre-extracting. We do a few things before extract data, then we do extract data, then we submit approval, then once we approve, we do a few things, then we export to Xero. And in this case, so if I click this, submit approval, you're going to say, in this case, I had already set up a few approval rules. And the first approval rule, if the invoice amount greater than $1,000, Adam, one of the person, Adam going to approve the invoice. The second approval rule is the invoice amount less than 1,000, and Lee, that's me, is going to approve the invoice. And I have 2 more approval rules. And another one is exclude the supplier from approval. And in this case, I put a Telstra bill and Toyshire, the console bill, for electricity. And this one, I do not need approval. And another one is I say, okay, if you upload to list approval, and we'll skip approval workflow. So I will talk about this later. But basically, you can say if the amount, if less than $1,000, they're going to send to me. And so in this case, the invoice I just uploaded, and if I look at the log, it will show me it's less than the amount is $159, and that's why they send me to approval. Okay. Okay, EzzyBill, there's a few top menu. The first one is EzzyBill. That's the main menu. The second one is a search approval. That's one, if you use a use approval workflow or any other approval, you're gonna use this quite a bit. So you go to search approval, you can say, click waiting for approval. You can say whatever email invoice is there waiting for approval. In this case is one waiting for approval by me. So if I go to my email, and I can say, yeah, there's one came in 1108. So for each approval email, we have a number of elements in there. We have a status, waiting approval. If it's already approved, the status will change. For example, in some of my other previous approval, you can see the status change. And this is the new one coming through. And there is a thumbnail, I can view the document. And you can just see the document and, okay, I look at the amount and who's coming from. And it's, everything is good. I'm really happy with it. So I can simply approve. Just click this button. And if I don't want to approve, I can reject it. There's a few other things I could not add for me, add notes. And there's another thing called modify. And a modify is actually has, it's open up a bigger invoice file size, and you can modify any of the data, the summary data if you want to. And it also allows you to add account code. This is optional. If you don't add, it will automatically determine based on your invoice history. And there's another thing for job tracking. For some companies, they use a job a lot. They like to put a job tracking there. And you can tell us how to automate, but if you don't want to automate, if it's too complicated to automate, and you can just put a job there. And there's a list of drop down you can put in. And here you can add a note. And this one you can add a file, additional file. For example, you say, okay, I have a delivery receipt. So you can add a delivery receipt. So you can just say open. I want to put a delivery receipt there as well. And I want to put a note, say telling, so okay, this is for something, whatever a note you want to put, and then you can just approve. So EzzyBill email approval is really extremely powerful. And there's a pack of functions you can use. It just depends on your use case. So once I approve this, and then you will say it will, the status change. If you say waiting for approval, there's nothing there. If you go to the main page, you can say there's one document, and that's delivery docket. I upload it, and that's the original bill I upload. So now it's export to Xero. If you click this link we provide for you, you can just quickly go to Xero, have a look. Okay, so we see all the data extracted, everything was good. And here there's a 3 attachment. The top one is a notes. The note to show you who approved it, and all the detail of the approval. In this case, it's telling it's sent to me, and it was approved by me, and I put a note there, and that's the invoice approved, tell you the numbers, the supplier, and the total, so you can see everything. So EzzyBill approval is really, really powerful, convenient, and it's very easy to use for managers. There's no requirement for logins. For some people are asking me, well, what if there are too many emails coming through to my managers, and he doesn't want to say so many approval email and in their inbox. So the common way you do it is you just set up a email rule. So in this case, when the email comes through for the first time, you just right click, you say, I want to create a rule, and say if the subject containing this, and I want to move to a folder. We call expense approval folder. So once you hit that, so in the future, and all the approval email will not come to your the main part of inbox directly. Instead, it will go into a folder. You just need to set up a folder. So all the this is the Outlook, and you can also use Gmail. Gmail is the folder is called Label, but it's the same thing. So you can do the same thing. And another thing is, as I mentioned before, you can look at the status approval, and another thing I like to use is a flags. So if you have never approved this one, you want to signal with a flag, sure, you can. If you want to talk to someone before you approve, and you can just put on a flag. Once you've done it, and you say, okay, I'm done it. Well, things like that. It's quite powerful, quite easy, and it doesn't really need a additional software or anything. It just uses existing email. Is convenient. Okay, and so I'm just going to okay. So I just go through the, a simple workflow, and I set up a few approval rules, and I had a, close look at the email. So we do a lot of automatic emailing, and for the approvers, they don't need a login, just click a button, but there is a lot of feature they can, a lot of support, they can do a lot of things like a Concode job, but this is optional. You can add notes and additional attachment. So I also talk about tips how to manage the approval email. Is quite convenient. So I also just mentioned a simple approval rule, and in that case, the case is like that. If the invoice amount less than $1,000, I want the email to the first person to approve. If it's greater than $1,000, I want another person to approve. And after that, they're going to export into my accounting software. So I'm just going to quickly show you that bit. So once you set up an approval workflow, okay, in the setting, once you tick that, enable approval workflow, then you save it, then you can go to workflow and to see it. And this is a key task related to approval, submit approval. So we wanted this process to be as automated as possible. So we set up a lot of approval rules, and all the rules are quite simple to edit. So basically, if you want this rule, you just tick it, and then you click the blue text. In this case, I put a two thing, that's a dollar amount, and put a comma, then approver email address. So in the second case, it's the same thing. So it just less than $1,000. So I put there. And the third one is I exclude some supplier from approval. In this case, I put a Telstra and the console, so the two supplier. So there is a lot of other rules you can use. For example, if you say if you don't want to use the my rule, you can use your different. You say in my case, if the invoice amount greater than whatever, and I need approval, and if less than that, I don't. So you can just tick only these and get rid of all the others. So yeah, the approval rule is quite powerful, and it will cater to your special need, and it will make the set approval this process quite automatic. That's if you have second level approval, you will see submit approval. This is the submit approval one. You will see another one called submit approval 2. So, and those the other workflows, and make your process very specific for your need. And we have a lot of, other different workflow, not for approval, but a lot of other workflow. And some people just enable that workflow just specifically for them. So yeah, EzzyBill can do a lot of automation for you, cater to your special need. Okay, I'm going to, I also going through that. That's escaping recurring bill. So in that case, if I upload Telstra bill, and I have a Telstra bill here, and so it will will not go through approval because I had a rule basically for this supplier. I don't need approval. So there's a lot of things you can do to make a EzzyBill approval process very powerful, very convenient for your company, and in the environment, like this Telstra bill just direct go into Xero without any approval. Another thing I am going to talk about is a list approval table. List approval table has been a feature for quite a while, maybe have been there for a year or two. This is designed for a few use case. The first use case we designed this for is for spend money transactions. Spend money transaction is different from bill in that a transaction which business bank account you use. In this case, you only need to put in the last 4 digits of a bank account number, and you input that. And when you upload to EzzyBill, a lot of upload to EzzyBill is via email, and some of them via direct upload, like I just did in the demo, and some go through phone bill. In the email, instead of using the main email, you can put a dot alias. That's the name here. And with that, we know you want to us to process this transaction as spend money transaction specific to a bank account. And another thing, user case is quite popular, is to set approval, separate approval for each business unit. Say if you have 4 business unit, you can set 4 line like this. In this example, I only set for the finance department. So if any email comes through, go to that finance, I know it's going to be approved by Sally. If you set up, follow them, you will cover all the business unit. So each unit, they know which email address they should use. This is special, that blah blah. That's email we call alias. Sometimes we call it extension. So they are the same thing. Another use case is employee expense claim. In this case, the employee is Greg, and you put the Greg manager's email here. So the manager is going to approve the employee expense claim. You tick my expenses. You're basically telling EzzyBill, Greg pay from his own pocket, and the company need to reimburse Greg. And so when Greg, say when during the travel, he received some bills in email, he can just upload to this specific email. And if he use a phone app, he just need to put a Greg, say, in the setting for alias. And then, so when Greg scan the travel receipt, and EzzyBill will know this is for employee expense claim. So in EzzyBill employee expense claim, we basically change the supplier to the employee. So you pay your employee just like a supplier. That's the concept for across all the accounting software, such as Xero, such as QuickBooks, such as MYOB. So they are the concept is exactly the same. We did another webinar about this a while ago. So if you want for more detail, you can watch another webinar and dedicated for this. Okay, then let's look at the live EzzyBill account. So if you click settings, and you can say I already set up a few things. I set up finance, I set up marketing. I can set up and say another employee like a Mark, and his manager is say Steve, blah, and you just tap through, and then this just employee expense claim. Mark need to be reimbursed. You tick that, and then you say save change, and then here you go. Your another employee is set up. It's quite easy to set up and quite powerful to use. Okay, I'm just going to say the next slides, and we're going through. So we talk about there are two things in the EzzyBill approval. You can set up enable a approval workflow, and once you set up, and you can say, okay, I can take 2-level approval, and then you can go to say the workflow, and then you can say that now I have a submit approval 1, there's approval 1, submit approval 2, there's 2 levels. So for each level, and you click it, you can set up 2. My second level, I just set up. I don't have any approval rules set, so you can set it for both level, set some rules, and that's approval rule. And another thing is we talk about the table. The reason we have both is just to maximize the automation. So during the approval, you want to spend less time to set approval. The better rule you set, the better list approval you set beforehand, and then the easier for you. So the goal you don't have to set approval for each invoice, and our system will automatically determine based on the rule you set, based on the table you set. And how about the relationship between these? So far, if I email to this, to gb.mark@ezzybill.com, so I will send to Steve to approve first. Once that's done, and then I will go through another 2-level approval. But if you don't want that, so recently we allowed you to bypass so anything said here, we allowed you to bypass this set of approval. So what you do is just go to approval workflow, and you go to set up the rules. The last rules, this is the rule. If upload to list approver, then skip workflow approval. So once you set this up, and you click this, you say, yes, I want to skip, and then this two has no link. So they are just going to be separate. With EzzyBill approval, in the past, we have really done a lot. The purpose is just try to maximize automation, make it easier for you to use. So that's basically all I want to talk about today. And if you have any questions now, you can just go click on the Zoom and Q&A and ask me any questions. Okay, how do you resend the email for approval? It's for this one, if your manager was sent to an email to approve, but your manager was busy, didn't approve it, so every week we'll resend. We'll automatically resend again. So the manager have another chance to say, hey, yes, then basically another reminder for the manager to approve the email. This is automatically sent. Yeah, if you say, okay, you send to someone, it was mistake, so what you do, you come to the search and approval, and then waiting about approval, you find the invoice, you tick this one to select it, then you say, I want to cancel it. So then it's going to be canceled. You can say it's now, you can do anything you wanted. Now you can select it. You can say, okay, I want to email to someone else. Instead of going to Lee, so this time I'm going to go to Bruce. So then you can just send again. Okay. So there's no more questions. So what I'm going to do after the meeting, I will send out the slides to you, and I always after webinars I'll upload this webinar, upload the webinar to YouTube. So if anyone missing the webinar, or if you want to rewatch again, and you will find it. So I'll also email that to everyone as well. And for EzzyBills, if you have any question, you can always reach out to our support team by email, and also you can call us anytime. Also, for the special this approval, you can look at the user guide. Anyway, thank you for everyone participating in the webinar, and it was a great pleasure to present to you. And in this current environment, I hope everyone stays safe and enjoy the time being working from home, and see you next time.